Well, hello and welcome all you wonderful people out there in YouTube land to the Texas Special YouTube channel. Here before you is our second O-gauge locomotive review for the month of June 2025. This is a Lionel product number 6-28904 Canadian Pacific GP38, road number 7307. Now this is actually an item. This was not a separate sale item. This is from a train set breakup. This locomotive was originally sold as part of the Northwest Special Freight Set, product number 6-30047 from the 2008 and 2009 Lionel catalogs. This locomotive is equipped with Lionel's rail sounds system. It is a conventional AC locomotive, so that means no command control on board. This is a straight up, the more you crank the throttle, the faster it goes and the brighter the lights are. It's a rather bare bones locomotive with the addition of sound, a simplified sound system. This engine is capable of operating on O-27 curvature track, which means that if you are not an O-gauge guy or you are new to the hobby of O-gauge trains, O-scale and O-gauge is the only type of model trains where we measure the curvature of the track in terms of circumference rather than radius. So, in HO scale, well, in two rail terminology, this would be equipped to run on 13.5-inch radius curvature track. So there is quite literally no commercially available track system this locomotive is incapable of running on. This is, as I said, a model of a GP38. Lionel's GP38 locomotives have dynamic brake cooling grids, the little lumps you see on locomotives here, but they are removable. This guy obviously lost his a while back, so don't have those. This engine is a loaner locomotive. This is not part of the permanent collection. This belongs to Mr. Christopher Peck of the Texla Model Railroad Club. Let's get into this thing, shall we? So here we are on looking primarily at the cab of the locomotive on the conductor side of the engine. First thing you'll notice is that the hand railings are a bit oversized. They are stamped sheet metal hand railings that are part of the stamped sheet metal locomotive frame. Again, this is an O-27 item, so this is not a true to O-scale 1/48 proportion locomotive. It's a little undersized, but that's so it can handle tighter curvature a little bit easier. And this is not meant necessarily for your higher end collector. This was part of a starter set originally when it was first built. So aim more toward the low end beginner market. That's not to say that there aren't lifelong hobbyists that specialize in these types of trains. They're simpler, there's less stuff you have to buy to make them run the way they're intended. So just throwing it out there, don't expect this to be a scale locomotive because it's not. Now, scale or not, the vast majority of O-gauge locomotives have the pilots on either ends of the locomotive disconnected from the frame. They're attached to the trucks. That allows them to again take tighter curvature than they otherwise would while remaining coupled up to other locomotives or rolling stock. You have this nice pinstriping here that goes all the way along the bottom half of this railing, very bottom portion of the hand railing. The hand railing on the sides of the locomotive is separately applied and is not attached to the cab of the engine. As you can see, the blade of my screwdriver there sticking through. All of the lettering on this locomotive, to my eye, looks correct and is very easily legible without the use of a magnifying glass of any sort. You do have crew members in the cab there. You can see the little conductor or brakeman, whatever you want to call them. You have these cast-on hatches here, which are in the correct arrangement and the correct locations. The trucks are rather bare bones. Every detail on the truck is cast onto it, and the truck frames on all 4 truck frames are detailed identically. So you've got the brake shoes, you have the roller bearings, you have the 2 brake cylinders per side per truck. You got the leaf springs, you got the sway bar, you have everything that should be there, all of the major components, and it's fairly nicely detailed for a lower end type locomotive. The pilot is a one-piece plastic part that's attached to the trucks, which of course are attached to the motor. This locomotive has 2 maintenance-free motors. If we scooch this guy along just a little bit, we look at the rear half of the engine, and a few details you can notice. First of all, you have the sight glass on the fuel gauge, and you have the fuel nozzle here. Now the gas cap is in the incorrect position, and it should be farther up, and you have a main reservoir that's just kind of like an afterthought that was added after the fact. Again, this is not a scale model, so I'm not expecting scale, perfect detail, but that is a little bit of a disappointment, just kind of a sloppily done fuel tank, but it works, I guess. Here you see there's cast on grills on both ends of the long hood. You have the cast on turbo charger housing. Again, all of the lettering is nicely done. There's some like cracking or separation, whatever you want to call it, on the doors right here where the Canadian Pacific Beaver is. Other than that, it looks pretty good. There's nice clean separation between the gold and red and the white and red of all the lettering, and you have the little first aid cross here in the correct spot for a CP Jeep. So on the underside of this locomotive, you can see you have 2 traction tires per truck, and they are on alternate sides of the locomotive. Those traction tires, again, if you're new to the hobby, allow the locomotive to get a better grip on the rail and pull more cars than it would if it had just regular metal wheels. This engine for an O-scale locomotive is fairly light, so without the traction tires, it really would not be able to pull all that much more than would come in a traditional train set. When I say that, I mean smoothly with no wheel slip starting out. With these traction tires, you can pull a lot more weight, which is why they are put on. It's also probably the reason why Lionel put so many traction tires on it, 4 versus the normal 2 on heavier scale locomotives and die-cast steam locomotives. And of course you see all the perforations on the underside of the fuel tank. That is the speaker housing for this locomotive's rather simplistic but very nicely done sound system. Here you can see the 2 motors. They are can style motors, and you can see the undersides of the magnetic operating knuckle couplers. If you don't want to operate the couplers magnetically, or you don't have the capability to operate them magnetically, no harm, no foul. There is a little tab on the side of the coupler body. You push down on it and that opens the knuckle. One more thing while I'm under here. There is a volume control knob. It has serrations for you to theoretically be able to twist it by hand. However, the location of the knob is a bit problematic for twisting by hand. It is up in here. It's back up in here. It's really hard to see, but it is there. It's also got a flathead, a flathead type screw head. So with a standard screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, you can adjust the volume accordingly, up or down, as you prefer. Looking at the roof of this locomotive, the top side of this locomotive, you'll notice a few things. First of all, while the stack is see-through, it does not operate. This thing does not have an operating smoke unit. The grills are all cast on to the body and not see-through. The horn, regrettably, is missing. This did come with, it should have a 3-chime air horn. You can see the sand filling nozzle here, but the one for the top of the rear of the long hood is missing. Additionally, there is some, albeit slightly oversized, safety tread, non-slip treading, simulated on the sheet metal frame of the locomotive body along the walkways. As we look at the business end of this beast, you will see a nicely done CP centered on the nose in between the marker lights and the headlight. You also have some slightly oversized storage hatches on the end of the short hood in the appropriate spot. You have the white pinstriping along the bottom of the hand railings. And there's not really any detailing on the pilot of the locomotive, but as I said, this is not a true 2/0 scale 1 48 inch scale proportion locomotive, so a lot of those scale details that really make a true O scale locomotive pop out just are not going to be there, because this is a lower cost item. Now the headlights and the number boards light up. This engine, I'm drawing a blank on whether it has directional lighting. I want to say it has directional lighting, but we'll find that out here momentarily. And finally, on the rear end of the locomotive, you see some separately applied grab irons that go all the way up the locomotive to the roof. You have the headlights, you have the marker lights, you have the illuminated number boards. Again, CP. Admittedly, on the rear of the long hood, it's not quite as well centered. The P is a little close to the ridge of the nose in comparison to the C. And you have, of course, the storage compartments on the bottom of the long hood in the correct spot. So I have the South Texas Railroad powered up, and we will run through some of the basic sound features of this locomotive. So what you just saw there, I got the locomotive up to a high rate of speed, or higher rate of speed, and then rapidly closed the throttle and powered the engine back up. That squealing you heard, that was the Rail Sounds brake feature, I guess you could call it. I neglected to mention the interior illumination in the cab of the engine. And as you can see, there is actually directional lighting. You heard me blowing the horn because if you are unaware, the way that the crew talk feature, which is the pre-recorded radio, crew dialogue feature of these locomotives, the way that works is it is a user-initiated feature, and to activate it, you blow one short blast of the horn, and that triggers the crew talk. Now, there are automatic features. If you let it sit and idle for a while, it'll run through some random crew chatter, the brakeman job briefing with the conductor, or the conductor job briefing with the engineer, or something to that effect, and you will get automatic chatter as well.